First Contact's deception. Admiral Zenovax of the Meridian Alliance stood at the observation deck of the flagship Eternal Dawn, her iridescent scales reflecting the pale blue marble of Earth below. Her inner eyelids flickered in contemplation as she reviewed the preliminary scans for the 1000th time. Something about this supposedly primitive world nagged at her centuries of experience in first contact scenarios. "Forward me the atmospheric analysis again," she commanded, her translator converting the clicks and whistles of her native tongue into standard galactic common. The holographic display materialized before her, showing what appeared to be a planet choking on industrial pollutants, its space cluttered with primitive satellites and debris. Her second-in-command, strategic analyst Krall, approached with characteristic precision. "Admiral, we've completed our third sweep of the solar system. As expected, we find only rudimentary colonies on their moon and neighboring planet Mars. Their technology appears to be barely past the fossil fuel stage." Zena's facial tendrils coiled tight, a sign of deep thought among her species. "And yet they've managed limited space travel. Show me their population centers." The hologram shifted to display Earth's cities, their energy signatures pulsing like nervous systems across the continents. To most observers, they would appear chaotic, inefficient, exactly what one would expect from a young species still finding its way to the stars. But Zena hadn't become the youngest admiral in Meridian history by accepting surface appearances. "Tell me, Krall," she chittered softly, "what do you make of their communication patterns?" The analyst pulled up another overlay, showing the web of radio waves, digital signals, and various electromagnetic emissions surrounding the planet. "Primitive, but functional, Admiral. They still rely heavily on satellite relay systems and ground-based transmission towers. And does nothing about that strike you as odd?" Krall studied the display more carefully. "I'm not sure I follow, Admiral. For a species with their population density and technological level, their communication network is remarkably redundant. Look here and here." Her clawed finger traced several overlapping patterns. "They maintain multiple systems that serve the same function, often with significant power inefficiency. Perhaps they simply haven't optimized their infrastructure yet." Zena's tendrils unwound slowly. "Or perhaps, strategic analyst, they have very good reasons for maintaining parallel systems." She turned to face her subordinate directly. "Tell me, what's the first thing we target in any military engagement?" Understanding flickered across Krall's features. "Communication networks." "Precisely. And a species that appears to waste resources maintaining multiple redundant systems would appear primitive and inefficient to most observers." She turned back to the hologram, "unless they were preparing for something." The strategic analyst shifted uncomfortably. "Surely you don't suggest. They're barely into their space age. Our scans show no significant military installations, no planetary defense grid, not even a proper battle fleet." "No, they don't appear to have any of those things, do they?" Zena's outer membrane shifted color slightly, a sign of anticipation among her kind, which makes them either incredibly naive or incredibly clever. She dismissed the hologram with a gesture. "Prepare a diplomatic contact package. Let's introduce ourselves properly and see how they respond." "But Krall," she fixed him with all four eyes, "have the fleet maintain full combat readiness? Something tells me we're about to learn some very interesting lessons about appearances." As the diplomatic ships began their descent through Earth's atmosphere, carefully broadcasting peaceful intentions on all frequencies, Admiral Zena noted how smoothly they were being guided into predetermined landing zones, almost as if humanity had been expecting them, almost as if they had been preparing for this moment far longer than anyone might suspect. The chess game begins. The United Earth Defense Council gathered in their underground chamber beneath the Himalayas, holographic displays showing real-time footage of the Meridian diplomatic delegation's carefully choreographed welcome ceremony in Geneva. Director Sarah Chen watched the aliens' every movement with calculated interest, noting how their four-eyed gazes darted about, taking in Earth's deliberately antiquated infrastructure. They're scanning everything, Lieutenant General Marcus Rodriguez reported, his augmented reality interface streaming data directly to his cerebral implant, just as we predicted. Their quantum sensors are particularly focused on our power grid and communication networks. Sarah allowed herself a small smile. And what are they finding? Exactly what we want them to see. The surface tech is performing perfectly, pumping out enough electromagnetic noise and inefficiency to make us look like we're barely past the digital age. The quantum masking systems are holding. The alien delegation was being led through a series of meetings with Earth's highest political and scientific authorities, carefully selected representatives who had trained for years for this precise moment. Every piece of technology they encountered, every building they entered, every vehicle they saw had been meticulously crafted to present the image of a species just beginning to reach for the stars. Deep below the surface, in chambers shielded by technology that made dark matter look primitive, humanity's true capabilities hummed with barely contained power. "Update from Luna Base," announced Dr. Yuki Tanaka, her hands dancing through holographic data streams. "The Meridian fleet is maintaining high orbit, but they shifted formation 3 times in the past hour. Their admiral, Xenovax, she's not fully buying our act." "Good," Sarah nodded. "We'd be disappointed if she did. Intelligence suggests she's one of their best. That's exactly why we let them find us first." The room's attention shifted to a new hologram materializing in the center of the chamber. A real-time neural network analysis of Admiral Vax's behavior patterns, compiled from thousands of micro-expressions, pheromone readings, and bioelectric fluctuations that the aliens didn't know humans could detect. "She's suspicious," Dr. Tanaka continued, "but not enough to break protocol. Our behavioral models suggest she'll follow standard Meridian first contact procedures for at least another 48 hours before attempting any provocative actions." "Perfect." Sarah turned to face the assembled council. "That gives us exactly the window we need. Colonel Zhang, is the quantum web ready?" A holographic figure materialized. Colonel Lai Zong, commanding officer of Earth's hidden orbital defense network, ready and waiting, Director. The moment they make a move, we can have the entire web activated in 0.3 seconds. They won't know what hit them. And the Neptune fleet, still dark, powered down, and hidden in the gas giant's magnetic field. The Meridians haven't detected a thing. As far as they know, we barely have a few clumsy shuttles for reaching our moon. Sarah stepped through the holographic displays, her cybernetic enhancements processing multiple data streams simultaneously. Humanity had spent over a century preparing for this moment, ever since the first encrypted alien transmissions had been detected by their quantum listening posts, while the rest of the galaxy thought Earth was just another primitive world stumbling toward the stars. They had been watching, learning, and building. "Lieutenant Hassan," she called out, "how are our guests responding to the cultural package we provided?" "Exactly as anticipated, Director. They're particularly fascinated by our historical records of warfare. The patterns of conflict, innovation, and adaptation seem to both intrigue and concern them." "As they should." Sarah's expression hardened. "Humanity's greatest strength has always been our ability to learn from our mistakes. We've spent millennia fighting ourselves, adapting, evolving our tactics. The Meridians think they're dealing with a simple, unified world government. They have no idea they're facing a species that has mastered the art of warfare in ways they can't imagine." A subtle vibration ran through the chamber. Another Meridian scout ship passing overhead, its sensors probing uselessly against shielding that made the facility appear as natural rock. "They're looking for our weapons," Rodriguez noted with amusement. "Searching for defense installations, shield generators, orbital platforms. And finding nothing," Sarah completed the thought, "because they're looking for the wrong things. They expect a young species to copy their technology, to follow their development path. They're looking for energy shields when we've developed something far better. They're searching for particle beam weapons when we found more efficient ways to fight. The holographic displays updated again, showing the Meridian delegation being treated to a carefully staged demonstration of Earth's most advanced technology, a fusion reactor that would have impressed humans a century ago. "Let them look," Sarah said softly. "Let them think they're seeing everything. When they finally make their move." She let the thought hang in the air. Dr. Tanaka's voice carried a note of concern. "Director, the latest simulations suggest a 68% probability that Admiral Vax will attempt some form of provocative action within the next 36 hours, most likely a staged incident to test our defensive capabilities." "Perfect." Sarah's smile returned. "That's exactly what we've been waiting for. Humanity has spent 100 years preparing for this dance. Time to show them the first step." Turning the tables, Admiral Zena Vax's suspicions had reached a breaking point. The humans' behavior was too perfect, too accommodating. Every scan, every probe, every subtle test her forces had conducted had been met with exactly the response one would expect from a developing civilization, and that perfection was the biggest red flag of all. "Deploy the Sentinel probe," she ordered, her tendrils rigid with tension. "Let's see how they handle an uninvited guest." The probe, a piece of technology far beyond anything Earth should be able to detect, let alone counter, slipped away from the Meridian fleet, its quantum stealth systems making it virtually invisible to known detection methods. It began its descent through Earth's atmosphere, aimed at one of the larger population centers humans called New York. Deep beneath the Himalayas, alarms that hadn't existed moments ago suddenly flashed to life. "Sentinel probe detected," Lieutenant Hassan announced calmly. "Quantum signature matches Meridian stealth tech, mark VII configuration." Sarah Chen nodded, unsurprised. "Right on schedule. Colonel Zhang, initiate Protocol Omega. Let's show them the first card in our hand." In high orbit, Admiral Vax watched the probe's descent with growing anticipation. Its sensors were already gathering terabytes of data about Earth's true technological state. In approximately 3 minutes, it would penetrate the lower atmosphere, and the probe vanished. Not just from sensors, it literally ceased to exist, dissolved into its component atoms by forces that, according to everything the Meridians knew about Earth, shouldn't exist. "Impossible," Krell whispered, his scales paling. "They couldn't possibly." "Message incoming," the communications officer announced, a tremor in their voice. "Text only, using our own quantum-encrypted channels." Admiral Vax felt her inner eyelids flutter rapidly as she read the message. "The Meridian Alliance is advised that unauthorized incursions into Earth's atmosphere will be met with appropriate defensive measures. We trust this demonstration has been instructive. Shall we discuss matters more honestly now?" Before Vax could respond, her tactical officer let out a sound of alarm. "Admiral, quantum fluctuations detected throughout the system, by the first stars." The space around Earth seemed to shimmer like heat waves on a desert planet. What had appeared to be debris, defunct satellites, and space junk suddenly shifted. Thousands of objects revealed their true nature, a web of interconnected quantum defense platforms that made the Meridian fleet's most advanced technology look primitive in comparison. "More quantum signatures detected near Neptune," another officer reported, their voice shaking. "Multiple capital-class vessels emerging from the magnetic field. Their energy readings are..." "Admiral, I've never seen anything like this." Sarah Chen's voice came through their quantum channels again, this time in full audio. "Admiral Vax, I believe it's time we had a proper conversation about Earth's place in the galaxy. We've spent a century studying your civilization and others, learning your technologies, and improving upon them. We chose to appear primitive not out of weakness, but because it gave us time to prepare, to understand, to advance beyond what anyone might expect." The holographic displays in the Himalayan Command Center showed Admiral Vax's bioratings spiking with a combination of fear, respect, and dawning understanding. "Your probe was dissolved by a quantum field of our own design," Sarah continued. one that operates on principles your scientists haven't discovered yet. The defense platforms you're now seeing are just the surface layer of our capabilities. We have no interest in conquest or aggression, but we will not be underestimated or threatened. A new hologram appeared on both Earth and the Meridian flagship, coordinates for a neutral meeting point in high orbit. "We propose a summit," Sarah offered. "Your best diplomats, scientists, and military leaders, meeting with ours as equals. There's much we can learn from each other, Admiral Vax. The galaxy is far more dangerous than either of our civilizations can handle alone. We've kept ourselves hidden not just for protection, but because we wanted to understand the true nature of galactic politics before revealing ourselves." In the command center, Dr. Tanaka's sensors showed the Meridian fleet's weapons powering down, their stance shifting from potential aggression to cautious respect. "Director," Lieutenant General Rodriguez reported with a slight smile, "the Meridian fleet is standing down. Admiral Vax is requesting direct communication." Sarah nodded, allowing herself a moment of satisfaction. This was just the beginning. The first step in humanity's carefully orchestrated emergence onto the galactic stage. They had spent a century preparing not just their defenses, but their entire approach to interstellar relations. "Open a channel," she ordered. "It's time to show them who we really are." The art of misdirection. The diplomatic chamber aboard Earth's orbital station Unity was a masterpiece of psychological warfare, though none of the alien delegates could recognize it as such. Its architecture incorporated subtle elements from a dozen major galactic civilizations, all gathered through century-long covered observations, while remaining distinctly human. Every aspect, from the lighting to the acoustic properties, had been designed to put Earth's visitors slightly off balance while appearing completely benign. Admiral Vax found herself seated across from Director Chen, surrounded by representatives from 6 other major galactic powers who had arrived with unprecedented speed once news of Earth's true nature had begun to spread. The Admiral's tendrils twitched as she realized another layer of humanity's deception. They had clearly prepared for this exact scenario, anticipating how quickly the galaxy's major players would converge on Earth once their facade dropped. "Let me be sure I understand correctly. The Centaurian ambassador, a being of pure energy contained within a crystalline matrix, pulsed with barely contained agitation. Your species deliberately presented itself as primitive, all while developing technologies that surpass our own." "Not exactly," Sarah Chen replied, her smile carefully calibrated to be diplomatic yet confident. "We developed alongside our own path of innovation, choosing not to simply copy what we observed from other civilizations. Your quantum technology is impressive, but you limited yourselves by assuming it was the pinnacle of achievement. We saw different possibilities." The Rigelian war philosopher, their chrome-plated exoskeleton gleaming under the chamber's lights, leaned forward. "Your quantum dissolution field, the one that destroyed the Meridian probe. Our analysis suggests it operates on principles we've never encountered." "Because you were all looking in the same direction," Lieutenant General Rodriguez explained, his cybernetic enhancements subtly gathering data on every delegate's reactions. "Your civilizations developed quantum technology based on particle manipulation. We approached it from the perspective of wave functions and dimensional folding." In the observation room adjacent to the chamber, Dr. Tanaka and her team monitored the neural patterns and biochemical responses of every alien present. Each revelation was carefully measured, each reaction cataloged and compared against their century of behavioral studies. "But surely you must see," the Proximan Collective's representative chittered through their translator. "This level of deception, of hidden advancement, will breed distrust. How can we form alliances with a species that has demonstrated such capacity for misdirection?" Sarah's expression remained carefully neutral. "Tell me, honored representatives, how many of your own civilizations maintain secret research projects, hidden weapon developments, classified technologies? We simply did so on a larger scale and for a very specific purpose." She touched a control panel, and the chamber's walls became transparent, revealing Earth below. We are not interested in conquest or dominance. We seek partnership, but partnership based on mutual respect rather than perceived technological superiority. The chamber's quantum field rippled as a new hologram materialized in its center, a real-time display of astronomical data that made several delegates gasp audibly. This, Sarah continued, is why we chose our path of preparation. Long-range quantum sensors we developed have detected something approaching from intergalactic space, something that has all the signatures of a civilization far more advanced and far less interested in diplomatic niceties than any of us. Admiral Vax's scales shifted color in alarm as she studied the data. These readings, they're unlike anything in our records. Precisely, Sarah nodded. We've been tracking them for 50 years. Their trajectory will bring them to our galaxy within 2 decades. This is why we maintained our deception for so long, not just to protect ourselves from potential threats among our galactic neighbors, but to prepare for something far more significant. The Centaurian ambassador's energy matrix pulsed rapidly. You're suggesting we face an extragalactic invasion. We're suggesting, Rodriguez corrected, that we have an opportunity to face it together, combining your established technologies with our innovative approaches. Earth didn't hide its capabilities out of fear or mistrust, but because we needed time to develop countermeasures against threats that the rest of the galaxy hadn't even detected yet. The chamber fell silent as the implications sank in. Humanity hadn't just been playing a defensive game. They had been preparing for a threat to the entire galaxy, developing technologies and strategies that approached problems from entirely new angles. Sarah stood, her cybernetic enhancements allowing her to project an subtle aura of authority that registered on both conscious and subconscious levels for every species present. We propose an alliance, but not one based on the old power structures of the galaxy. Together, we can combine our different approaches to technology, our varied perspectives on problem-solving, to prepare for what's coming. The Rigelian war philosopher's exoskeleton hummed with thoughtful harmonics. You orchestrated all of this. The revelation of your true capabilities, this summit. You knew exactly how we would react, how to bring us all together. Yes, Sarah admitted simply. Because the greatest threat to survival isn't superior technology or overwhelming force. It's the inability to adapt, to see beyond one's own established ways of thinking. Humanity's greatest strength isn't our quantum dissolution fields or our hidden fleets. It's our capacity to imagine new possibilities and prepare for them. Victory through innovation. 20 months after Earth's dramatic revelation of its true capabilities, the combined fleet of 7 galactic civilizations hung in formation around Neptune. Earth's quantum detection grid had confirmed the approach of the first extragalactic scout ships, hidden in ways that would have been undetectable to conventional sensors. In the command center of the newly christened Solar Defense Station Horizon, Director Sarah Chen stood with Admiral Vax and representatives from every major galactic power. The enormous holographic display showed the incoming vessels' positions, their attempts at stealth now useless against humanity's revolutionary detection systems. They're exactly where you predicted they would be, Admiral Vax noted, her scales shimmering with a mix of anticipation and respect. Your behavioral models were precise. Pattern recognition has always been one of humanity's strengths, Sarah replied, watching as the combined fleet's quantum networks synchronized using protocols that merged traditional galactic technology with Earth's innovative approaches. We spent centuries studying our own conflicts, understanding how civilizations think, how they approach conquest. The extragalactic threat is following patterns we've seen countless times in our own history. The Rigelian war philosopher's exoskeleton resonated with tactical frequencies. They believe they are hidden, approaching through what they think is our sensor blind spot, just as your analysts suggested they would. Predictable, Lieutenant General Rodriguez commented. His cybernetic systems interface directly with the fleet's combined tactical network. They developed their technology along a single path, never imagining there could be entirely different approaches to the same problems, like you all did, before Earth showed you alternatives. Dr. Tanaka's voice came through the quantum comm, her team monitoring the incredible amount of data flowing through the combined fleet's networks. The quantum dissolution fields are ready. All ships report successful integration of Earth's wave function technology with their traditional particle-based systems. Sarah nodded, allowing herself a small smile. The past 20 months had seen an unprecedented exchange of scientific and military knowledge between Earth and its former observers. Humanity's fresh perspectives had revolutionized technologies that other civilizations had considered perfected centuries ago. Signal from the extragalactic vessels, Hassan reported. They're broadcasting in all known galactic frequencies. It's an ultimatum, demanding immediate surrender of this galaxy's resources and population. How perfectly predictable, Sarah said, her voice carrying the hint of satisfaction. They assume that because they can't detect any response to their presence, we're unaware of their approach. Admiral Vax, shall we show them how the galaxy responds to uninvited guests? The Admiral's tendrils coiled in anticipation. All ships, initiate protocol synthesis. The space around Neptune lit up as hundreds of ships activated their hybrid quantum systems. Earth's dissolution fields merged with meridian particle beams, Centaurian energy matrices combined with human wave function technology, creating effects that none of these civilizations could have achieved alone. The extragalactic scouts never had a chance to report back to their masters. Their advanced stealth systems, designed to counter conventional detection methods, offered no protection against weapons that approached the very nature of spacetime from entirely new angles. In the aftermath, as the combined fleet's sensors confirmed the complete neutralization of the threat, the Proximan Collective's representative turned to Sarah. This was your true victory, wasn't it? Not just preparing Earth for threats, but bringing the galaxy's civilizations together in ways we never would have considered on our own. Humanity's greatest strength has never been our technology, Sarah replied, watching the holographic display shift to show the preparations already underway for the larger conflict they knew was coming. It's our ability to imagine new possibilities, to take different paths than the obvious ones. We knew that facing the extragalactic threat would require more than just advanced weapons. It would need civilizations willing to look beyond their established ways of thinking. Admiral Vax moved to stand beside her, a gesture of equality that would have been unthinkable 2 years ago. You never needed to pretend to be primitive to defend against us. You did it to teach us a lesson about assumptions and innovation, and to ensure that when the real threat arrived, the galaxy would be united and ready to face it with new perspectives, Sarah confirmed. The combined knowledge and technology of all our civilizations, enhanced by humanity's innovative approaches, gives us capabilities none of us could have achieved alone. The holographic display shifted again, showing the vast network of quantum sensors now extending throughout the galaxy, monitoring for the larger invasion force they knew would eventually follow its scouts. But now, instead of facing that threat alone, Earth had helped forge an alliance of civilizations that approached problems from multiple angles, combining their strengths in ways previously unimagined. Director, Dr. Tanaka's voice held a note of excitement. The quantum harmonics from the combined fleet's new systems are showing possibilities we never even theorized. The merging of our different technological approaches is opening up entirely new fields of research. Of course it is, Sarah smiled. Because that's what happens when you bring together different perspectives, different ways of thinking. The galaxy spent millennia advancing along parallel paths, each civilization building upon its own discoveries. Now we're learning to combine those paths, to find new routes forward together. The chamber fell quiet as they watched the stellar data streams, each being contemplating how much had changed since humanity had revealed its true nature. Earth had proven that true strength didn't lie in superior technology or military might alone, but in the ability to imagine new possibilities and bring others together to achieve them. As the combined fleet began its return journey to Earth, where the next phase of preparations awaited, Sarah Chen looked out at the assembled representatives of humanity's new allies. In less than 2 years, they had revolutionized galactic technology, shattered centuries of established doctrine, and prepared defenses against threats that most civilizations hadn't even been able to detect. And they had done it not through conquest or dominance, but by showing the galaxy that there were always new ways of thinking, new approaches to old problems, new possibilities waiting to be discovered. In the end, humanity's greatest deception had also been its greatest gift to the galaxy, the reminder that true advancement comes not from following established paths, but from daring to forge new ones. The real victory wasn't in the technology they had developed or the battles they had won. It was in teaching an entire galaxy to imagine new possibilities, to look beyond the obvious, and to face the future with innovation rather than tradition. As humanity had always known, the most powerful force in the universe wasn't weapons or technology. It was the ability to think differently. The end.